Am I the asshole for refusing to fix my relationship with parents who literally replaced me with a random teenager? I never thought I'd be writing this post, but here we are. I'm 24 female, married to my amazing wife, also 24 female, and we've been living about 800 miles away from my family for the past 3 years. What started as an exciting new chapter in our lives has turned into a masterclass in family dysfunction that honestly belongs in a psychology textbook. Let me paint you the full picture of my family dynamics, because context matters here. My dad, 46 male, has always been what I generously call emotionally unavailable. When I was younger, our relationship was already pretty surface level. Think awkward small talk and forced hugs during holidays. Things got even distant when he married my stepmom, 45 female, and brought her 13-year-old daughter, now 16 female, into our lives. I tried to be welcoming, I really did, but it quickly became clear that I was now competing for attention in a house where I'd never really had much to begin with. The real turning point came when my wife and I made some major life decisions that my parents, let's say, they didn't exactly throw us a celebration party. I'm being deliberately vague here because the specifics aren't what matter. What matters is that instead of having adult conversations about their concerns, they chose the mature route of completely ghosting their own daughter. I'd send texts, checking in, sharing updates about our life, even just random memes, trying to keep some connection alive. Radio silence. Every single message left unread, like I was some persistent ex they were trying to avoid. But here's where this story goes from disappointing parents to what the actual hell. Last Christmas, my wife and I made the 800-mile trek back home for the holidays. We'd planned to stay overnight at my dad's house before continuing on to visit my wife's family, a tradition we'd maintained despite the growing distance in our relationship. Walking into that house felt like entering the Twilight Zone. My childhood bedroom, the room where I'd spent 18 years of my life, where I'd cried over first heartbreaks and celebrated high school graduation, was occupied by a complete stranger. Well, not technically a stranger, my stepmom's 18-year-old nephew. Apparently, he'd been having some issues at home and asked to crash for a few days. Those few days had mysteriously stretched into several months of rent-free living in what used to be my space. But wait, it gets worse. As I walked through the house where I grew up, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Every single photo of me that had once decorated the refrigerator, pictures from my graduation, my wedding, holidays past, had been systematically removed and replaced with photos of this kid. Not added alongside mine, mind you, completely replaced. It was like they'd performed a surgical extraction of my existence from their daily visual reminders. The final nail in the coffin came during Christmas dinner. My parents spent the entire meal gushing about their plans to drive 800 miles to watch this nephew play college football. They were animated in a way I hadn't seen them in years, talking about booking hotels, making a whole weekend trip out of it, how proud they were of their boy. Let that sink in for a moment. This kid lives the exact same distance from my parents as I do. 800 miles. I've been living 800 miles for 3 years, and they haven't made the trip once. Not once. But for someone else's nephew who's been crashing in my old room, suddenly they're travel enthusiasts planning elaborate support missions. I sat there picking at my turkey, listening to them plan this grand gesture for someone who isn't even their biological child, while their actual daughter, who's been trying to maintain a relationship despite their cold shoulder treatment, might as well have been invisible. My wife squeezed my hand under the table because she could see me processing this devastating realization in real time. The message was crystal clear. I had been replaced. Not just in my physical space, but in their emotional priorities, their future plans, their daily thoughts represented by those refrigerator photos. This teenager had somehow earned more consideration, support, and love in a few months than I'd managed to secure in 24 years of being their actual family member. Now here's where my beloved grandmother, 67 female, enters this story. She's honestly the one family member I'm genuinely close to, the person who's always been my emotional safe harbor when the rest of my family felt cold and unwelcoming. She knows how much this situation has hurt me, and she's witnessed firsthand how my parents have treated me. She's seen the ignored texts, the declined calls, the complete emotional abandonment. But, and this is where I'm struggling, she wants me to be the one to fix this. She keeps saying things like, you know how they are, and someone has to be the bigger person, and family is family. She's pushing me to reach out again, to apologize for what, I honestly don't know, to essentially crawl back and beg for a relationship with people who've made it abundantly clear that I'm expendable. My position is, I tried. For months after they started ignoring me, I kept reaching out. I sent thoughtful messages, shared good news, asked about their lives, even sent flowers on Mother's Day that went completely unacknowledged. I exhausted myself trying to maintain a connection with people who couldn't be bothered to send a two-word response. I refused to humiliate myself further by chasing after parents who've already shown me exactly where I rank in their priorities. My wife supports my decision completely. She watched me cry after every ignored message, saw me check my phone obsessively, hoping for any sign that my parents still cared about my existence. She's furious on my behalf and thinks my grandmother, while well-meaning, is asking me to set myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. But I'm torn because disappointing my grandmother feels almost worse than accepting my parents' rejection. She raised me to value family loyalty and forgiveness, and I know she's genuinely worried about the long-term consequences of this rift. She keeps saying that life is short, and I'll regret not trying harder when they're gone. The thing is, I don't think I will regret it. I think I'll regret wasting more emotional energy on people who've already demonstrated that I'm not worth their time or love. I think I'll regret teaching them that they can treat me like garbage, and I'll keep coming back for more. I'm done being the family member who has to earn basic respect and consideration. I'm done pretending that blood relation automatically entitles people to unlimited chances to hurt you. My parents made their choice when they replaced my photos with his. They made their choice when they planned 800-mile road trips for him while leaving my messages on read. They made their choice when they turned my childhood bedroom into someone else's permanent residence without even mentioning it to me. I'm just finally making mine. So Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to chase after parents who've already shown me I'm replaceable? Should I ignore my own emotional well-being to make my grandmother happy? Or is it okay to let some bridges burn when the people on the other side have already poured gasoline on them? Update. Thank you everyone for the overwhelming support. Reading these responses has validated what I already knew in my heart, that I deserve better than begging for scraps of affection from people who should love me unconditionally. My wife and I are planning to have a gentle conversation with my grandmother about boundaries, and we're focusing on building our chosen family with people who actually want us in their lives. Top comments. NTA at all. The photo thing absolutely destroyed me. That's not just neglect, that's active erasure. They didn't accidentally forget about you. They made a conscious decision to remove every visual reminder of your existence and replace it with someone else. That's honestly psychological warfare level stuff. Your grandmother means well, but she's essentially asking you to apologize for existing? For having feelings about being replaced? Hell no. You've got every right to protect your peace. Comment. Jesus, this hits close to home. My dad did something similar when he remarried. Suddenly, my half-brother was the golden child, and I became chopped liver. The difference is, I kept crawling back for years trying to win his approval. Spoiler alert, it never worked. I wish I'd had your backbone at 24. You're not burning bridges, OP. You're just refusing to keep rebuilding ones they keep tearing down. Also, can we talk about how they're planning 800-mile trips for this kid, but couldn't even text you back? That's not even subtle favoritism. That's just cruel. Comment. Family lawyer here. I see this dynamic constantly in blended families, and what you're describing goes beyond typical favoritism. The systematic removal of your photos, giving away your room permanently without discussion, and the complete communication cutoff suggests they've already divorced you emotionally. Your grandmother is operating from an old-school mentality where family dysfunction gets swept under the rug for peace, but that's not healthy for anyone. Document everything if this escalates. And honestly, good for you for recognizing your worth. Comment. Honey, I'm 73, and I need to tell you something your grandmother won't. She's wrong. I love my granddaughter dearly, but if my son treated her the way your parents treated you, I'd be the first one telling him to fix it, not her. Sometimes us older folks get so scared of family falling apart that we pressure the wrong person to fix things. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions or fixing relationships you didn't break. Your parents are grown adults who made grown adult choices. Let them live with the consequences. Comment. As a step-parent myself, this makes me absolutely furious. Your stepmom's nephew getting more love and support than you is just, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, my stepkids aren't even my biological children, and I would literally fight a bear for them. The fact that your dad, your actual biological father, is treating some random teenager better than his own daughter is honestly unforgivable. Quick question, OP. Did this favoritism start before or after you came out and got married to your wife? Because if it's related to that, we're dealing with a whole nother layer of awful here. Author. It definitely got worse after I came out, but honestly, the foundation was already there. My dad was never great at the whole emotional support thing, and when stepmom and stepsister moved in, it felt like I was competing for scraps of attention. Coming out just gave them an excuse to justify what they were already doing. Comment. OP, I went through something similar with my bio mom when I was in my early 20s. She basically replaced me with her boyfriend's kids, and I spent years trying to earn back a spot in her life. Therapy helped me realize that I was literally begging someone to love me, and that's not how love is supposed to work. The best advice I got was, stop trying to convince people to choose you. Choose yourself instead. 3 years later, I'm happier than I've ever been with my chosen family. Some people don't deserve access to the amazing person you've become. Your parents lost out, not you. Write what you think about this situation. Also, if you like this video, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.